Hello, welcome to War with a Mate. It's me, James.
Me, Andy.
Yeah, it is. There you are. Handsome
back.
devil. Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, hang on a minute. I'm just looking in a mirror.
Oh.
I'm looking into this this mic shield, the pop guard. It's got a little crumb on it, I think. Might be from my my food before.
I mean, probably, yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, it must have been from last week. We've just cracked these bad boys back out, so it can't even be from today's food.
So yes, there's old food on the pop cards.
Yeah, I'd wipe it off, but it would make a bit of a noise.
Just to let people know how glamorous this is.
Yeah, this is our studio. It's beautiful in here.
We've moved off the floor.
We have, yeah, actually, come to think of it,
back off the floor.
if we didn't mention that last week, we're not on the floor anymore. We've decided to graduate back up to table space because it's been very spreadsheet heavy the last few weeks, so we haven't needed to get the boards out as much. But Map C is over there, over on the sofa.
Yeah, we've been doing a little figuring out, supplies. We've been going through it's the store consumption phase.
It is.
Yeah.
It's time to go through all of our food. It's time to make sure all our men are fed. And boy howdy, have we realised
There's some hungry boys.
There are. If you are a garrison and you are part of the Italian forces, I have some bad news for you. You will not be eating this week because I have neglected to find a way to feed all of those men. That's bad news today. I realised a massive flaw in my logistics, and it's that there's no food for the garrisons. So that was a real shitter today to figure out that I just can't feed a good portion of my men. And my logic behind this, and I explained this a little bit to you as we were playing, Andy, is that I thought all of the garrisons were quite bad. I thought they were, not morally probably, but I thought that they were quite ineffective. I thought they were low in strength and that they were there to just kind of keep watch. But it turns out a couple of them, Bardia, particularly big garrison,
Yep.
they really could do with the food. And quite frankly, they're not going to get all the food they need.
No.
So today we focused on that. We also had a little look at evaporation and spillage rules for fuel and water. Turns out we haven't prepared the way that we thought we had prepared, which was correctly. But for the uninitiated, actually, we'll dial it back a bit because we do have quite a few new listeners.
Hopefully.
We put the word out and you've come out in droves. So hopefully you've stuck around on the back of a few Reddit posts. We've had a lot of people picking it up. So for the uninitiated, I mean, if you come here from the post, you'll probably know. We're playing SPI's The Campaign for North Africa, start to finish. We're doing a little test run at the moment where we play the first 6 turns, and then we go back to the start. And thank God we're doing a test run.
I mean, yeah, because with the best will in the world, some of my guys are going to starve, I think, and run out of water and fuel. So it'll be good to get a grip with that before it knocks on and ruins 8 years of play, like, cumulatively.
Yeah,
So,
we're not going to have a great time in this little scenario because we've got a rainstorm for the very first operation stage, which is going to really hamper the movement of our trucks. And the trucks, at the moment, on paper, aren't actually fitted out to be able to feed all of my men. So it's a real double whammy of I haven't prepared well enough and the weather's really bad. Who would have thought? First turn in a desert campaign, big rainstorm.
I mean, it's certainly not helpful. We can't fly planes, and our trucks are half as fast.
We can't fly planes is an insane way to start this. We're just not really getting the test run that we need. We're going to be 6 turns in 10 years, and ready to start the full campaign. We won't know a damn thing. Not a damn thing.
Hopefully we learned something.
Well, what do you feel you've learned today? If you could boil it down to one thing, what have you learned today?
The guys are hungry. They're really hungry.
It's mostly my guys. You didn't seem too panicked about yours.
One of my groups are on half rations.
Yes, that was a rule we explored again today because we'd read it beforehand and we hadn't really explored it a whole lot. But turns out you can give your men half rations only if the number of rations mean that you would struggle to feed them otherwise.
Yeah, if you can't feed them all properly, you do have to. But if you don't have enough, you can put them on half rations.
And half rations, or I guess we'll go to full rations. Full rations are 4 store points per tool point. You may remember tool points from last week. So per tool point of unit, you need to give them 4 stores for food, and that's once per turn, not per upstage. So it's not as frequent, but if you miss that 2 turns in a row, then they start to fall apart. They become disorganized.
Which, fair.
I mean, I would become disorganized if I was hungry.
Yeah.
I'm disorganized when I am hungry. That's how today started.
Yeah.
I was very hungry, so I needed to get some food in me. And it turns out that was when I had that moment of realization, that moment of clarity, and realized I was disorganized, that I'd done everything wrong for the last 15 weeks.
Well, it's good to realize now, I guess.
It is. Time is flying by. I mean, today's St. Patrick's Day.
Yay.
Yay. Yeah. And, of course, to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, we, instead of going out and, having a few drinks, celebrating, dressing up in green, we've sat here, we've filled out some spreadsheets. We've realized that there's some hungry men back in the 40s.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's going to be.
That's it. That's what this is. You've got to suffer for this.
Yeah.
This is our cross to bear. This is our voyage. But having said that, it's not with all negatives, Andy, because I do have a little present for you for St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
I do indeed. Let me just grab it.
Okay. Oh, he's got a bag.
I do. I've got a bag for you here.
Okay. I didn't know gifts were happening, so I've got you nothing.
Right.
And he's putting the gift away.
Yeah, that's... Well, I guess this is mine for me now.
Okay.
No, for
What do you got yourself?
For St. Patrick's Day, look what I got you.
Oh, Guinness. That's being held together by Scotch tape.
Yeah, and the security protective tags, this is not shoplifted. This is just how they've packaged it. I think these security protected stickers are actually keeping the tape together. But I
So
thought...
you've got me some Guinness you found in like a skip?
Yeah. Well, I thought since we're not out enjoying St. Patrick's Day, we could have a nice Guinness together.
Okay.
How about that?
Sure. I'm knocking everything.
I don't love Guinness.
You don't. Oh, there we go.
Is it going everywhere?
No, it's fine.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to open mine over the plastic bag.
Okay.
Just so that it definitely doesn't go all over. Oh, wow. Yeah, that is frothy. There we go. To the Irish and green.
Yeah.
There we go. Yep, that is Guinness.
Taste of neutrality.
Some iron in there. See, you have that in the desert, you're not going to go hungry.
It's probably a pretty good beer for the desert. It's
Yeah.
like a meal in a can.
I wonder if that's what some of the stores are. It's just Guinness. It's room temperature Guinness. And it's
room temperature in the desert. That's a cool, refreshing beverage.
That's true. That depends on where the room is.
Yeah. So you can sit around your garrison starving to death, crack a nice Guinness.
Yeah, and then go to war.
Yeah. So you've got several starving garrisons. I've already got people on half rations, and all my people are going to starve next turn unless I can get food out to them, which the rainstorm isn't going to help with.
No, we can get food to people on the borders of the map, on maps A and E, but we just can't do anything about the middle, which is a damn shame. But it'll be interesting to try and play the scenario out with half of the men starving to death.
I mean, yeah, it'll teach us efficiency.
It will.
Not in terms of keeping people alive, but doing things with those who are alive.
It'll definitely teach us something.
It also, again, I think I mentioned it last week, but when we start taking prisoners, this level of management is a war crime.
It is. So
need to sort that out.
Well, thankfully, we don't need to worry too much about that right now because we've got to focus on this incoming telegram. Andy, do you hear that? It's coming back again.
Oh yeah, I can't hear it again.
Yeah, it's weird how it comes in now before I've added it in post.
I just now hear it in my head.
Well, you shouldn't because the sound effect's probably done by now.
No, just outside of the podcast now in general.
Oh, it's like tinnitus.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Do you know what the Morse code is saying for that?
What, the sound effect?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so please let us know, guys, if...
It's a royalty-free sound effect.
Okay.
Which means that I don't know what it is. Because the origin, it's just titled sort of telegram sound effect. So if anyone does know what it says, please let us know. And please don't fib and make me sound silly. But thankfully, what people have sent so far has not been fibs or silliness, as far as I'm aware. But we have had some correspondence, so thank you for getting in touch. So we're gonna cover a little bit of that. I believe you've got the first one to hand, possibly, Andy, the one from our website. We got a web form sent in over at warwithamate.co.uk.
Yeah.
The reason I was going to that is because we've got an email that's very similar.
Okay, we're knocking them out.
May as well cover both of these.
Yeah.
So you look at that, but in the meantime, we do have an email from Luke. And Luke has sent over an email asking, do you all have an Instagram? Y'all it's not very natural terminology to me, but I'll not put on the sort of
y'all.
I'll not put on the twang.
Yeah.
I imagine there was a bit of a Southern American twang to that, maybe. I don't know. If not, Luke, sorry for presuming. Maybe it's just a bit of an affectation you've picked up. Who knows? But do you all have an Instagram? I'm old now, and it's the only social media I use. I wanted to share your podcast with my board game group. Well, at the moment, as we're recording this, Luke, no, we don't have an Instagram. However, by the time this episode is out, we should have an Instagram.
Yes.
Because we're going to get some high-quality pictures taken, rather than the smeared, messy images we've been putting up so far. So we should have one. Ideally, it would just be War with a Mate. If it's not, don't worry, it will be in the description of the episode, telling you what it actually is. Okay. But it should just be War with a Mate. But yes, Andy, that is homework for you, to put whatever the Instagram name is in the description. So we will be putting that up. And the web form was just asking about social media in general.
Yes. Yeah, the web form was, do you have any social media to see visual updates? So yeah, we'll be putting them up on Instagram, and also we'll have basically movement happens every op stage, like I move and then you'd move, and like back and forth. So basically whenever we're moving things, we'll take before and after pictures, and they'll be up on the website. So, and probably the Instagram. So you'll be able to visually follow along with either of them.
That's right. We do have an X, formerly Twitter, account. We haven't been updating it a whole lot. That's my wheelhouse, so yeah, whoopsie on that. I did start off. We put up a tweet where we added Insane Clown Posse because of magnets, and that's more or less it. What I will be doing is putting one out whenever we release an episode, so keep an eye on that as well, if you forgot what day of the week it is. But that's where we are so far. Otherwise, look on the website or listen to this. This is where the action's happening.
Yeah, but social media incoming.
Social media incoming. Work in progress. The next email we got, bit more in depth, less social media related. This email comes from Matthew. Its subject is, am I the first? And sorry to say, Matthew, as you probably know by now, you were beaten to the punch last week, so apologies for that. But it does read, hey there, chaps. I'm an avid listener / pervert. Yeah, I think we've dropped that term, thankfully.
We're going to drop that.
Yeah, we're going to drop that term, but thank you for popping that in there. Since seeing a post of yours on Reddit. See, told you it works. Brackets, when magnetizing the game first became the plan, and is currently the plan. The only mishap we did have today was when I knocked one of the magnets when looking at it, and it fell down the front of the board because we have it vertical. It fell down the board and just collected a bunch of other magnets as it went down. So we ended up with a stack of about 10 different units, and then had to go back through the spreadsheets and figure out which unit was which and where it belonged. So that's a slight flaw we didn't think.
It's a little stress test for our note keeping.
It was definitely stress. Definitely stress. When magnetizing the game first became the plan. You've made my commute much more entertaining. I've got as far as episode 12, and still nobody has emailed you. I know, it took them a long time, didn't it? But I'm glad that you stepped in there. So I take it upon myself to correct this injustice. I'm somewhat of a wargamer myself, and I even have some questions for you regarding the game and your gaming. You spoil us, you really do. Question 1. What rule took you by surprise as an interesting mechanic in this game? Past the points is disqualified as an answer. Yes, it is. It is. Because wherever we've been posting this and information about us playing the game, people bring up the pasta rule. And that's natural, because that is one of the things that grabbed us. But now, for us, that's old hat. That's old hat. Yeah. That's nothing for us.
Yeah, it's a good example of how ridiculous the game is. But my brain's on camels.
Yeah, my mind's on the camels. So I'll be experiencing the pasta rule probably next week. So I will need to bear it in mind. But yeah, so we'll should we answer that one first then?
Yeah.
So what rule took you by surprise? You mentioned you had one in mind earlier.
Yeah, I mean, from when we started to now, I guess maybe a bit naive on this, my part, but when we started, I had no idea how much would be hidden from each other, how much, like,
Yes.
deception. There's rules for reconnaissance and scouting, and also when someone does do recon on you, you don't give an exact answer, you give a range. They overlap, so there's a lot of trying to deceive each other, fake supply dumps, things like that. So, yeah, that was an element I really wasn't expecting. Maybe
Yeah.
not a specific rule, sort of theme through the rules.
Yeah, something that we were both really pleased with, because we didn't really know how this game was going to manage to stay as competitive as it was meant to through the whole thing. We thought it was going to be the logistics fall apart, the game falls apart, and then someone loses. But it turns out you do get a fib as well. A good example of that, actually, is the recon rules,
Yep.
where if a recon plane, for example, flies over a group and you identify the tow strength value of the overall group, and when you have to tell that to the other player, so say Andy is flying a recon plane over one of my divisions, if it's a division of, say, tow strength 10, I get to lie in
Yeah.
either direction by a degree of...
I think it might be 2.
It is, yes, 2 sounds correct. 2 sounds correct.
Yeah, so the value will be within, like, 5, I guess, but we don't know if you've undersold it, oversold it.
Yes, so it does make for a little bit of tactical play, even in just describing what a recon planer saw. And there's a few other examples like that where you get to fib about what's showing up.
It's less like fib as in, like, a straight-up lie.
Yeah, an
more
exaggeration
like you've
or an
got,
underplay.
Yeah.
And that also applies to my convoys.
Yes, it's a...
I describe my convoys as small, medium, or large. There's a bit of overlap between those, so it
Yes.
means that I can sort of twist the truth a little bit and give you a false idea as to what's being shipped. So then you go with either over or under equipped air force to attack them.
Yeah.
So that makes for an interesting play. So I agree. That is a very fun point. A point that I
you
really
have one, yeah?
Yeah. So one of the ones I really enjoy is the fact that there's a rule that's sort of the base rule, so to speak, that you get a schedule of pilots that arrive throughout the game, and they are different star rating, different level of pilot, and the higher a pilot level, the better they are at maneuverability. Because in the air fights, the dog fights, it is plane versus plane individually. You roll each individual plane battle on their own. Each dogfight is individually resolved. So the pilot of each individual plane really plays into it. And these better pilots really play into that. But there's a variant rule, which means that instead of getting these scheduled pilots, instead your pilots develop as you play. So every pilot starts off with a sort of base
0,
rating of
yeah.
0. But then the more kills they get...
every 5, like, dog kills in a dogfight, or victories in a dogfight, they go
yes.
up a star. They go up a star. So the normal variations is they're fixed at arrival times. Like, you get, say, a 3-star pilot on turn 4.
Yeah.
But we thought it would be a fun to use that alternate rule, which I really like, because it gives us a bit of chance to, like, maybe a bit of narrative storytelling.
Yeah,
Unexpected fight asymmetry.
some emergent storytelling would be good in this. I think it's going to be fun to see if we get any sort of favoured pilots,
Yeah.
or any stories coming out of that. So it just means that we don't go completely mad, and we do get a little bit of creativity within there. Get to project onto pilots that are entirely fictional,
Yeah.
because they're so broad and templated.
So we're going to use that for the full run, that variant rule, for the short Graziani offensive we're doing now. We're going to use the pilots as they come in, just because
Yes.
they wouldn't have time to develop.
Yeah, we'd end up with just flat base of 0 for the whole
Yeah.
thing. There's just not enough time, especially with all these rainstorms, when the planes can't fly. Means we can't do anything with them.
Yeah.
So we can't do anything
Just
with the pilots.
persistent rainstorms, none of the pilots ever get better.
Yeah, none of the pilots are going to get out at this rate. The pilot, you know what? If we could make the pilots redundant, and we could somehow put that money into my men getting more food at the garrisons, that would be ideal. I'm going to sack off half the Air Force. Don't need them. That's what's going to happen. The Air Force is out. No more Air Force.
It's a wild choice.
No more Air Force. I'm firing them all. You're getting your pink slip. You're going home. You can't fly this week, though. So, that, I think, covers off that question. So thank you. Thank you for that, Matthew. But your second question, you've mentioned your D&D gaming. We have. We play that religiously. We played that every week for the last 7, 8 years now,
Yeah, pretty.
and no sign of stopping. That is running alongside this, and it's a big contrast. Playing Dungeons and Dragons and then playing this.
Yeah.
Couldn't be more different. One is creative storytelling. One is based entirely around theatre of the mind. This is all theatre of the Excel spreadsheet and magnetic picture frames. So, do you have any wargaming experience, or are you just jumping in at the Mariana Trench of deep ends? It's the latter,
Yeah.
I'm afraid. We mentioned it a good while ago that we played Risk once, or started to play Risk. We got about an hour in and didn't finish it. We haven't played anything like this before. We haven't played any hex and counter games. We haven't played any war games. We've played, I think the most recent game that we played before this that was new to us was Ticket to Ride.
Which is a great game.
A lot of fun, very different. My guilty pleasure is Monopoly. I do actually enjoy that. Mostly the times had playing it than the game itself is bad. One of our favorite games that we've played quite a few times though, which is a brilliant board game, is Arkham Horror.
Yes, we have played quite a bit of Arkham Horror.
That's a great game. That, I think, if anything, that might be a sort of gateway drug for this experience, where it was a game where we thought there's a lot of counters in this, there's a lot of rules, and you can play it very differently every time. Very diverse set of rules and encounters. So a lot of room for emergent storytelling in that. It's a brilliant game. I'd recommend it if you haven't played it before. That is a great game, but nowhere near this.
Yeah.
It doesn't even touch the sides. So when it comes to wargaming, nothing at all. This is the first time, which I think is why it's taken us so long to get the grips with this, because we have no idea if this is at all similar to other war games. So if you or anyone else has experience with actual war games, if you could let us know based on what you know of this, is it at all similar? Is it the games you've played but cranked up to 100? Or is it a whole other beast entirely? Because we quite naively didn't really research that. So let us know.
Well, I think if we had done all that research at the start, we would have scared ourselves and not done it, maybe.
I mean, quite possibly. Finishes up. Keep it up, lads. I've committed to listen to you for a decade, so now you'll be gilded into completing. Yours humbly, subtly, and bravely, Matt. Well, thank you, because as you know, you are an accountability tool, Matthew. So the fact that you've made sure that that's reiterated, it has motivated us. I will admit, we had a little conversation about this earlier on, and the uptake in correspondence we've had has been great, and it definitely reinforces that, and it does feel like it's pushed us that little bit harder. So thank you for that. We do have more correspondence that's been sent in, so we'll save some of that for next week. So if you have sent that in, don't you worry, it will definitely be getting read and answered. But we have other things to get through. We simply do, and it's like buses, isn't it? You ask for one, and then a lot of them get emailed over to you at the same time.
Yeah, that is how the buses on my street work. Is they arrive in threes.
Well, the buses on your street, I popped out before to get some pop from the shop. That's a good little bit of rhyming. Don't give me that condescending look. You know it's art. Went up to the shop, and there was a bus pulling up, and it was full of green. Just so many people wearing green for St. Patrick's Day.
That does feel like a new thing in Britain.
It's definitely got more of an uptake, because I definitely don't remember it being this big. But I think maybe it's a post-COVID thing.
Yeah.
Maybe during that time.
Americanization thing.
Yeah. Well, people say that about Halloween as well. Bigger Americanization.
Yeah.
In America, Halloween, massive cultural event that in the UK feels like it has been creeping up there.
Yeah. It's never really... It's been... Yeah, I don't know about Halloween. It's sort of like...
I love a good Halloween event. I love
it's
a good...
avoidable.
Love a good dress up. Love a good dress up.
Turn all the lights in the house off so no one knocks.
That's so antisocial.
Well, I don't want them... yes, it's antisocial, and I don't want to give them sweets.
Oh, okay. We give them something else. Give them one of these duct-taped cans of Guinness. I presume you're going to save these for the next 5 months?
Probably, yeah.
5 months. Oh, God, it's only March. No. Crank that up to 7 months then. Yeah, 7 months. These bad balls will keep... I don't know. The shelf life's probably not great. They've already seen the worst by the looks of it.
I mean, yeah, they look like you got them from a clearance bin.
No, well, to be fair, they were the only Guinness left in the shop, probably for good reason, because it's St. Patrick's Day, so I feel like everybody else bought the good ones. I was stuck with the dregs, and I'm not making great progress on my Guinness, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm a Guinness drinker, you're not.
Well, I thought you might have got me something I like for St. Patrick's Day, since I got you this.
I didn't think it was a gift-giving occasion.
Yeah, apparently not. Apparently not. We'll talk about this off mic, don't worry.
This will be the last episode.
This will be the last episode, or it will be the last episode with Andy as co-host.
We'll be recording separately and putting things on the feed.
Yeah, the audio quality might dip a little bit because Andy's going to be locked in his own cupboard every time I'm here. But I suppose, speaking of people who deserve to be locked in cupboards, Andy, and I'm not talking about you, don't worry, you have a continuation from last week. I think it's time maybe that we pick up a continuation of the history of Graziani.
Yep, Rodolfo Graziani.
What a git. If you haven't listened to last week's, you probably should.
Yeah, just a quick, I guess, to get you caught up on where we are in his life story so far.
Yes, hang on, let's have a little recap sound effect. There we go. I'm sure that's not
that
disarming.
Took me back. Yeah, so this guy has basically been avoiding death constantly and doing atrocities in Africa at this point on behalf of the Kingdom of Italy at this point.
Oh, siren's going past. Someone partying a little too hard.
So yeah, last time we got up to he'd been reassigned after his success in Ethiopia.
That was it, yes, I remember now, unfortunately.
So he gets sent up. This is World War II's kicking off. So he gets sent back up to help the Italian invasion of France. I didn't know much about this. This is not a very successful invasion. Germany is rolling through France at this point, taking everything.
Yes.
The Italians come up from the North Italian border to come through the Alps to France. The French just blow up all the passes. So
smart way to do it.
There's 5 passes through the Alps that are big enough for be worth taking soldiers and stuff through. The French just blow them up and sit back in their forts.
Yeah, that's a smart way to do this.
This entire the Italian invasion of France is a 15-day event where about 300 to 400 French fatalities and casualties, and the Italians have about 6,500.
Okay.
A third of them are from frostbite.
Right. So this is an environmental hazard.
Yeah. So this is the first time Graziani's fighting another mechanized imperial colonial power.
Because beforehand he was going through and killing civilians
pretty much
for the most part.
Rebels and
militias more than armies.
Yeah.
Right. So and he's seen that it's not working for him by the sounds of it.
And this is a quote from Mussolini about their intentions in this invasion of France.
Right.
I only need a few thousand dead so I can sit at the peace conference as a man who fought. So this is entirely we were in the war, can we get some stuff when eventually peace treaties?
It's all peacocking. It's all wanting to be part of the gang. Right.
Yeah. So Graziani oversaw that. I mean, quite frankly, almost a non-event.
No, it was a big event. Yeah. It sounds like a lot of Italians died.
Yeah, but no borders moved, I guess, and it didn't influence the invasion of France, really. It was just this thing happening down to the south.
Yes, down in the south, a lot of Italians died, but nothing tactical actually pushed forward.
And during this, Graziani receives another piece of undeserved luck. Well, I guess this may or may not be luck. There's another marshal who's sort of just above him called Italo Balbo.
Okay.
He dies in a friendly fire incident on the 28th of June, facilitating Graziani's rise to Governor General and Commander-in-Chief of the Italians in North Africa.
Right, you say a bit of luck and friendly fire.
I didn't find anything saying he did it. I didn't find anything saying he didn't do it, and I'd say it's well within the capabilities of the man we've been talking about.
Surely not Graziani, not good old Rodolfo, the honourable man who wouldn't dare fire on his own men. Yeah. I mean, this is sounding very suspect.
Yeah, so he gets a promotion and gets rid of a rival.
Yeah, that's convenient.
Yeah.
Okay, pure chance.
Yeah. So they're 15 days in the French-Italian invasion of France comes to an end. He gets sent back to Africa.
Okay.
This is when he gets the orders to invade Egypt. This
Right.
is leading up to the Graziani offensive in the game, the start of the war in North Africa.
Okay, we're getting there.
He doesn't want to do this. Mussolini is like, you need to go and invade Egypt, which is occupied by the British at the time. And Graziani is basically like, my men aren't good enough, they're not well equipped enough, I don't want to do this.
That sounds like me.
Yes.
That sounds like me right now. I've actually channeled his mentality only for this part of the game.
So he basically gets a thing of like, if go and attack or you're going to get demoted.
Yeah.
Which I think is, you also die in this situation.
You die in a friendly fire incident,
Yes.
that facilitates the rise for someone else.
Yes. So he does launch the attack. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this because this will play out in the game, and over time we'll do more history.
There was a rainstorm and everyone starved.
Yes. But basically that does not go well, and Operation Compass, the British counterattack,
Yes.
smashes them, and he gets pulled out of command, back out of North Africa, and returns to Italy.
On the topic of Operation Compass, actually,
Yeah.
it goes back to the Echoes of War channel, the guys that we had on back in episode 3.
Yep.
They have a great episode on that,
Yes.
which I really enjoyed. That's actually part of the historical research I did before playing this. It's not helped me at all, because unfortunately that's about real competent, if not nasty, men. We aren't good at that. So if you're interested in the history side of stuff, look at that as well. But yeah, so Operation Compass crushed them.
Yeah, he gets sent back to Italy, where he thrives for a couple of years because he's now in charge of dealing with anti-fascist civilian protesters, which is his wheelhouse. It's just fighting civilians, apparently.
Yeah.
So he's happy here, unfortunately. And then this leads up to the end of the war, like 1945. Mussolini, he's the only general to remain loyal to Mussolini. All the others are like, fuck you, we've lost this war. Another rival of his is the one who signs the like peace armistice. He's the only guy who goes with Mussolini.
Okay, so flawed judgment to the very end, then.
Yeah. And then, well, part of the reason they think he did this is because his rival signed the thing. This is a petty man. So
You don't say.
So Mussolini flees north, and Graziani's left as like the de facto leader of the Italian fascist state, especially after Mussolini is captured and executed. So after that, he is the de facto leader of the Italian fascist movement.
Okay.
Until he surrenders. Because they're, basically, from what I could tell, the Soviets are coming. So
You don't want to be around anymore.
so they go looking for some Americans to surrender to. Because say what you want about the Soviets, but boy, do they love killing fascists.
Yeah, I will give them that. That is very much their wheelhouse.
Yeah. And this is part of why it's so frustrating about this guy, is he spends a few days in prison in Milan before he gets transferred to a prison in Africa because they're worried about him being murdered and lynched in Italy by like the anti-fascists as they come back into power. So the Allies protect this guy.
I mean, yeah, that's one of those big moral quandaries of war, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to keep the ringleaders alive when all the people want to kill them.
Yeah. So this leads up to his after-war career, which is just, there's some things here that are just made me very angry. So after the war, the UN gets formed, and they form the War Crime Commission. Mm-hmm. Primarily, it's focused on dealing with crimes during World War II, specifically, mainly targeting the Germans and the Japanese.
Yes, yep.
But the Ethiopians present a case to this commission about everything he did during the colonial period, the gassings, the concentration camps.
Based on what you said last week,
Yes.
everything that was the progenitor for the Holocaust, the inspiration for some of the
one of
more
them,
grueling
yeah.
parts of the Holocaust. So, yes, I think they've got a pretty good case there.
As well as everything I've told you about him, there's a written order from him that says, Keep in mind also that I have already aimed at the total destruction of the Abyssinian chiefs and notables, and this should be carried out completely in your territories. It's just written proof of genocide and him giving the order.
I mean, that's pretty damning. So I presume they immediately locked him up, threw away the key, or had him executed?
No, the Allies questioned the veracity of Ethiopia's claims against the Italians on the grounds it was impossible to identify which individuals gave the specific criminal orders, despite the fact he's in charge of the whole area and is a very vocally loves doing war crimes. Apparently they can't pin this on anyone.
I've got to say, Allies, that's not a good move. That's a big L, because it sounds like there's a lot of... And again, I'm taking this from you as the source, Andy. You could be making all this up. You could be typing all this up yourself, tip-tapping away. But based on what you've said, it's my opinion that it was him. I think Rodolfo did it with the candlestick in most parts of Ethiopia, by the sounds of it.
Yeah. So he never gets punished for his colonial crimes at all.
Oh, okay.
The Allies sort of go, look, we don't want to deal with this. Please shut up, Ethiopia. For some reason.
That's a hot take.
Couldn't find a compelling reason for them to defend these people, but they did. So he's never punished for his colonial crimes. But in 1950, an Italian military tribunal does sentence him to 19 years in jail for collaborating with the Nazis. Woohoo! How long do you think he spent in jail?
So he's sentenced to 19 years.
Yes.
I'm going to guess, and only because this story's been so horrible so far, I'm going to lowball it at 5 years.
Well, you've not lowballed it enough.
Right, okay, what's the actual number?
4 months.
What the fuck? Right, okay.
And do you want to know the line of reasoning that his lawyers used in the appeal, which ultimately worked and got him out?
Well, I bet it's going to be bullshit, but okay, let's hear it.
He only performed his actions after he received orders.
Oh, just following orders.
They used the just following orders defense, and it worked for this guy, apparently.
That's some absolute mad shit. That's not really okay at all.
So he gets
4 months.
Yeah, so he gets out of jail, and in like the last 4 years of his life, he joins this newly forming neo-fascist movement in Italy, who like name him as their honorary head because he's a fascist hero. And
when was this?
1950.
1950.
Yeah, I think the Italian socialist movement, maybe. But yeah, he joins that. They love him. Which leads up to 1954. He's losing his strength and experiencing mounting health issues. His mental health's deteriorated to the point where sometimes he wakes up thinking he's still the imperial viceroy in Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia.
So that was really on his mind then.
Yes.
He really lived in that one forever.
Yeah. And by the end of the year, he undergoes surgery to try and help him with this, and this goes well until the first week of January. Well, second week of January, where he goes into a coma. He briefly comes out of it to say his last words, and then he dies in his bed in Rome at 6 a.m. on the 11th of January, 1955. Do you want to know what this motherfucker's last words are?
You seem very impassioned and angry, so I can't sleep tonight without knowing what this monster said before death.
If my time has come, I'll go calmly to be judged by God. He dies in his bed thinking he's going to get an eternal reward and dies unpunished for all of it.
If I was a God-fearing man and I did what he did, I would not be going calmly to judgment.
No.
I would be very scared. I'd be like, if this is my time, I'd like more time, please.
Yeah.
I don't want this to be when I get judged because I haven't made up for or repented for anything that I've done.
No, he goes thinking, I've lived a good life. I'm not worried about it.
History is not fair.
No, it is not. So this guy, constantly avoiding death and consequences for his actions.
Through to the end.
Through to the end. Dies in his bed. Like,
some people just slip through the cracks.
It's just so frustrating. And just they weren't he just got away with it.
He did those 4 months.
I mean, yeah. And that defense, he was just following orders. Like,
I don't know how this... That's a
That
wild thing
didn't
to
work at
transpire.
Nuremberg. I don't know why it worked for him. But apparently the Allies were like not... This was led by the British as well. Did not want to overly punish the Italians. I think because they didn't want, like after World War One, where they went hard on Germany.
Yeah, they didn't want
another place where they could make the conditions. But I would argue, kill this fucking guy because he deserves it.
Rodolfo Graziani, I think, of all of the figures that I'm tangentially aware of at the moment, and there'll be more because we are going to cover more of these characters as we go through the game. I think of all the ones I'm tangentially aware of so far, he really takes the biscuit in terms of being just an awful, awful piece of dirt.
Yeah.
So,
And not a... Yeah, there's no justice to that.
that's...
Sorry to bum you out, but that is Rodolfo Graziani, the leader of the Italian forces at the start of this game.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Green, that's what I am. Sick. You made me sick with these words. What a horrible git.
Yeah.
But, hey, well, at least now I know the forces that I'm leading in this game, the people that they were behind. So the fact that there's a bunch of my men in garrison starving...
Very him.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. I also have a sneaking suspicion a lot of the guys at the start of this are going to have similar paths from the end of the colonial era.
Quite possibly,
So
yes.
I think a lot of these guys, probably on both sides, are not going to be great. But there's a special place in hell for this guy.
Yeah, well, he went calmly to it.
Fucker.
It's really rubbed you, that one. You rubbed you the wrong way, but I think that's completely justified.
Yeah. So shall we transition to something a bit more light-hearted to end this?
I think so. I think maybe it's time for a bit of common ground. And now for something nicer. A little oasis in the war. It's time for some common ground. I'm trying the intro for common ground. I'm recording. Maybe.
Well, it's your common ground, so I don't know what it is. Is it light-hearted? Please, can it be?
Well, what would be good? I could, if it's common ground. The idea behind the segment is that we discuss something that's supposed to have us agree on something. Well, we can have a bit of a light-hearted debate and finally find somewhere a bit of no man's land, something for both of us to enjoy. Because we're playing this game for 8 years, so it's important for us to have a bit of connection. So hence the common ground segment. So we alternate each week. You come up with a common ground one week, I come up with a common ground the next week. An easy one I could go for would be Graziani's a piece of shit, but I won't do that. Instead, I do have my common ground.
Okay.
So this week's common ground is, I think, every 3 years, society should have to refresh all slang terms to keep it fun and exciting.
Okay.
All colloquialisms.
Okay.
All turns of phrase. Every 3 years they get rebooted.
Okay. Why 3 years? Is it?
Well, every year it's a bit much.
Yeah.
I think you'll lose track of stuff, and stuff doesn't really have meaning. You don't want to go 5 or 10. I think that's a bit too long.
Okay.
But every 3 years, things are still fresh.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Yeah. I think it would be good at the end of the 3 years, you have like let's have a referendum. And we put some of the words into the dictionary.
Okay,
And
so
then the rest of them can't be used.
So they become real words.
Yes, some of the slang becomes real, the rest of it, we're not keeping that, let's get rid of it. New words now.
So I suppose, for an example, which ones would you have voted in the referendum to put into the dictionary? If you could pick some slang from the last, let's say, 5 years, and you could stick them into a dictionary, what would they be?
Oh, God.
Any of them that
I'm not lit.
is that one? Is that one?
No.
Is it lit? No, we're not going for lit.
No.
What about Riz? Would you go for Riz?
I don't hate Riz.
Okay.
That might get a vote.
Do you have Riz?
No.
No. Is the Riz in the room with us?
No, Riz has left the building.
Riz is. I don't mind. I don't mind Riz, actually. Could do with Riz. Should put Riz in the Riz is in the referendum. The Riz-a-random, more like it.
And maybe some cycles there's no words, and we
don't no words as in no new slang.
No one gets
Put
voted into the dictionary.
Oh, I thought you meant there might be like a 3-year cycle where it reboots and there's no slang for that 3-year period.
Now that would be weird.
Everyone just is formal.
Yeah,
It's just really, really solid. No one, because cool's already.
yeah, like that was one that would
already
transition from the slang to
Well, that's already happened.
Yeah, that's an example of that system.
Yeah, cool's already in there. Yeah. I think it's important to keep society fresh and on its toes, and that's a big thing for me.
Yeah,
make sure that people don't continue to use the same terms and get bogged down with them. And I also am a really big hater, and I'll use the word hate. I don't think I used it once during the whole Graziani section, but apparently I am now.
This must
be a stronger feeling. I really hate when stuff gets new words constantly, and that's a very broken English way to say it. I don't like when there's new colloquialisms invented for things that already exist constantly.
Yeah, well, a lot of them are like different ways of essentially saying cool. That seems to be a thing that goes through slang.
Yeah, but one of them, and this is a bit of a controversial one, I'm sort of peeling back the layers of my own psyche here in saying this, but so we're in the UK,
yeah,
and cuppa is used
yeah.
for cup of tea. I don't like that.
You don't like cuppa?
I don't like cuppa. Because the thing is, if someone was to come over to me and say, would you like a cuppa?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I know you mean cup of tea, but the thing is, a cup of is that's what you've abbreviated. Cup of.
Yeah.
What about another hot drink? Cup of coffee. I would
do you want a cup of coffee?
I want exactly, but instead it'll be, would you like a cuppa? Would you like a coffee? Well, cuppa should be a broader term. You've went too niche. You went too
tea's
specific.
The default hot drink here.
But I don't want it to be is the issue, because and it also, I don't know. It's just one of those things where you've now went too niche, and then you have to broaden it out. And it's, would you like a cuppa, so a cup of tea, or would you like a coffee?
So cuppa would have been gotten rid of in one of these purges.
Yes, it would have. God, so long ago. I'd get rid of that.
It would also, the 3 years where people were using literally incorrectly. You got 3 years, and then at the end of it, it doesn't get voted in, and you can't use literally anymore, and we stop words having their meanings changed.
Yes, I don't like when people use literally. And another pet peeve of mine, while we're on these words, is when people say obviously, and they use it in a context that is not obvious. So they'll be telling you a story, and they'll say, you know, and then I went to my uncle's house, which is, you know, my uncle lives in York, obviously.
Oh,
and it's like, what do you mean, obviously? I don't know your uncle. I don't know.
This
I don't know
man
he lives in York.
existed till 2 seconds.
Do you live in? Did you used to live in York? Is that why it should be obvious, or is this just new information? But you're saying obviously because you don't know how to fill the gap.
Okay.
And I'm not saying I'm a perfect conversationalist. All right, it's not what I'm saying. I'm not going to sit here on my high horse and pretend I'm perfect. What I am going to do is call out other people when they deny that they aren't perfect. It wasn't obvious. It's not. It's still not obvious. It's not.
This now feels. There's a specific instance.
No, it's so frequent. It's so constant that it's not. So yes. In short, because I feel like it's getting away from me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't like when these words are used incorrectly. So I feel like every 3 years we refresh the system. We get new words out there that people can use to get it out their system.
Yeah.
And I think that's a safe way to do it. Keeps me happy, keeps me calm.
Yeah.
Keeps me relaxed and chill, so I can focus my time on stuff like the board game. And it means people get to try out new words.
Yeah.
Make up new words.
And it's probably
be a wordsmith.
It's sort of a cycle that exists with words and slang at the minute. We're just formalising it.
Exactly. I think it's important to formalise every process, and nothing should be natural, nothing should flow, everything should be robotic and uncomfortable.
Boy. Well, I like the idea. Some of the reasoning I'm not sure I'm 100% on board with you for, but that's fine.
You don't need to be on board with why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Just on board with the fact it's happening.
Yeah.
And that is what common ground is.
Yeah.
But if anyone here has an idea for a word, fire that over to us. If there's a word you want to get rid of, or a word you want to introduce, why don't you pop that in? A question about the game wouldn't go remiss either. So by all means, send that over too. And I think for the most part, that's us done. I think we've covered all the topics we need to. The game, Graziani, words.
All of it.
St. Patrick's Day as well. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed your green and your beer. And your... Well...
That is it.
Those are the two big things.
Yep.
As long as you had a great time, that's all that matters. And we've had a great time today.
Yeah.
So, anything you want to know, you know how to get in touch with us. There's probably an Instagram out right now. It's probably War With A Mate. If it's not, it's in the description. We're on Twitter, which is at War With A Mate. We are on the website, warwithamate.co.uk, and our email address is info@warwithamate.co.uk. So fire your bits and pieces over, and you'll hear us next time.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Stay subtle, humble, and brave.
You better. We'll be watching. We'll be listening. And I'll be listening to the words that you say and what they mean. That's important to me.
Okay, just...
Goodbye. Obviously.